what I've always thought was really important is that innovation at the heart of what we do. And by innovation, there's I think he's an economics professor. Yeah, he actually got the Nobel Prize for economics at Columbia University, Edmund Phelps. And he defines innovation as kind of three things. And it's been very helpful. And it's first, a new idea, but it's not only a new idea. And then second, it has to be a thing or a product. And then third, it needs to be widely adopted.
Yeah.
It's those three domains that actually define innovation, which if you think about it, academic science doesn't meet that criteria in and of itself necessarily.
Just point 1s and 2, I suppose it does. But the third part is the
Definitely
hardest.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even two, maybe not, depending on what you're doing, right? And that's where I think my interests started to go into industry, because there you are actually developing a bona fide product, and you definitely need widespread adoption or dissemination. Otherwise, it's not viable.
Yeah.
No.
And I suppose the most rewarding part there is that you're actually going to get the hands-on experience benefiting the patients, the caregivers, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it's however you can move the needle, and the more ways you can move it, the better, is how I've always viewed it.
Do you think there's more innovation in an academic setting or in a dynamic biotech setting? Because they're both the two ends of super dynamic, super innovative.
Yeah. I mean, I come from an academic pedigree, so I think sometimes we have always assumed that innovation automatically equaled new ideas and ideation. But what I've learned by being on the other side is that there's a lot of innovation on the other side. And I think the reason why we're talking, and I'm being a little bit presumptuous here, but I think it's because the landscape has really shifted. Say 20 years ago, when I was kind of up and coming in science and all that, it was a very different landscape. And by that, I mean, what's happened now is the technology in general. We're living in the era of technology, no question, whether it's AI or whether it's blockchain, or whether it's just engineering as we know it, right? And I think even molecular engineering and science has advanced so much that the gap between an idea and a product has gotten so short. And as a result, at least for me, as a traditionally being much more of an ideation person, it's exponentially increased my value. Because say you go back to the time when I was in college, the idea was that you make a discovery, and if you're lucky, in the next 30 or 40 years, something happens with that.
Wow.
Right? That was really what I grew up with. And now it's within a matter of 3 years, you can actually have a drug on the market potentially, right? Maybe 5 years like that. And we've kind of played in that a bit in very significant ways by taking our science, leveraging assets that were already in development, and then taking it and accelerating it to market. And so it's just, that makes the, if it takes 30 years, the value of your know-how is very different. But if you say you can do it in 3 years, then the value goes up, not just numerically tenfold, but in many different ways, I think.
And is it 3 years specifically in your experience? Was it 3 years only in still a very dynamic environment? Because big pharma, could they still turn that around in 3 years? I
mean, for me, I say 3 years because it's taking advantage of unique opportunities where stars were really aligned.
Yeah.
So let me give you a concrete example. You have a company. I'll give a very concrete example. When you actually had in 2017, Regeneron and partnership with Sanofi was developing dupilumab, which blocks the IL-4 receptor. 2017, we published that the IL-4 receptor is on sensory nerves and may be really important for itch. That led to a direct, immediate collaboration with those industry partners in helping to shape just fundamental understanding of what their drug can do. It has proven its value exactly in the way in which we predicted. That also allowed us to direct that asset to another condition called prurigo nodularis, which at that time the companies were saying, what is this that you're even talking about, to now a drug that's FDA approved in a matter of a few years. But that's not to say it was de novo, but you had a drug that maybe would have never even known to go there without the science really accelerating it. So you could imagine a scenario where you could do that de novo. It may not be 3 years, but it's not 30 years.
Yeah, it's amazing, really, the development that's come on. And do you think that bringing in AI here, do you think that could get even shorter?
I do. I use AI almost every day.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And
What do you use it for out of interest? I mean, there's obviously the usual ChatGPT back and forth, but what about from your perspective in drug development?
I use it for, I mean, I'll give you an example. When new papers are published, it's a lot of time to go through those papers. So I'll upload it into something like Perplexity, and I'll say, can you just give me the high points? Can you focus on this? And it'll tabulate that out for me, right? Another way that I use it is I can really quickly, I think the greatest value for me so far, and I think this is not anything special that I'm saying, but when you use AI, and I think where AI is the force multiplier right now, is that it actually pays dividends for people who are already experts.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think it's, at least in the near term, going to replace the experts. But I think what it does is it really makes experts even better at what they do. And, I've poured 20 years into a field, that that was not, viewed as glorious. It's not like a lot of good things have happened, but that wasn't really the obvious outcome based on what I was doing. I was a dermatologist who was going to be underpaid to go back in the lab, to grind it out in an area that people weren't sure why I would go into that area. Believe it or not, atopic dermatitis was considered kind of not a worthwhile.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
People
now said, you're not going to be able to solve it.
Wow.
They said it's too complex. It's too heterogeneous. It's not really a disease worth pursuing. Why wouldn't you just do psoriasis? And because psoriasis had a lot of traction back then. But that's precisely why I wanted to go into it. That I felt that science can bring kind of order to the chaos of the things we didn't know, unmet need, and all that. And I think AI helps that even more. But for me now, the way it helps a lot is, I think we waste a lot of time. I think I'm an expert in what I do, and I think what I do is I end up wasting about 95% of my effort traditionally in just rehashing what I already know and telling this person, that person over and over again what I know. But with AI, what we can do is just quickly just say, hey, just generate this, send it to me, and I will hone in on that 5% where it really matters, that I put my focus on that 5%. And the reality is, traditionally you have to plow through that 90%, the 5%. And I think that's the problem with education. You don't know what's valuable.
Yeah.
So you have to study all these things that are irrelevant to get to like the 5% that's valuable. But I think it's very similar with even just being an expert, is that it's hard to communicate your expertise to other people in an efficient manner and even to use it. And I think AI really changes that, where you could really quickly now in exponentially much more rapid time get to that 5%. And that's where I see the value.